Hey, I'm Bill DeYoung. This is the Catalyst Sessions for Monday. We're very glad you're with us. I want to introduce you to a friend of mine. This is Jim Swallow. He's a photographer. He's an amazing photographer who does amazing things. He has an exhibition coming up beginning this Saturday at Softwater Studios, which we are going to talk about. Hey there, Jim.
Hey, how are you tonight?
I'm doing good, man. And
Wonderful.
I'm just excited to talk about this because you and I have known each other for a while, and I know you've
Yeah.
been working on this for a little while. It
Yeah.
is called 2020 Vision. Very clever.
Yeah.
And focusing on 3D art. Tell us what you've done. Let's put it that way. Tell me what this exhibit is.
The project that I'm working on is I decided that for 2020, I wanted to photograph the artists of St. Petersburg. So these are all, 99% of them are St. Pete artists.
Mm-hmm.
They are all work in three-dimensional, and I have 20 different artists. I went into their studio, photographed them working in their studio space. I didn't get them looking at me or anything. It's just as if I was there and nobody was watching. And I wanted to record how they create their work and what their environment was. So each of the images are images of them in their workspace, how they create their art, where they create their art. We have so many talented artists in St. Pete that I'm starting this body of work, and I'm going to be continuing this body of work because I wanted to showcase the many talents that we have here in St. Pete. And I work in photography, which is traditionally a two-dimensional medium.
Yeah.
But I have been working and honing my craft, per se, with stereo photography, which has been around since 1851 or before 1851. But
Well, first of all, let me stop you. Is this something that you were interested in before? You know, 3D photography. Is there a difference, let's say, between 3D and stereo? Is it the same thing?
It's sort of the same thing. It is the same thing. It is the original virtual reality.
Were you interested in this before? Or is this a new thing for you?
No, I bought a stereo camera, a 3D digital stereo camera back in 2008. And I started playing with it back in 2008. I set it aside for a while because the quality wasn't as good as what I wanted. And it was great for outdoor stuff, but not for indoor stuff. And then I started getting a little bit more involved in stereo photography. And I have two cameras that are rigged together and fire simultaneously, and it gives me a much better result and a higher quality result to my images.
So you find the one you got in 2008, you finally just put up in the closet and said, if I'm really going to do this, I need better gear.
Yes, I need better gear, but I still use it because it's great for outdoor in the sun. It's great for landscapes and things like that. But when it comes to indoors and doing serious portrait work of the artist, I knew that I couldn't do it with that camera. In the early days, people were using film cameras and shooting. There's a realist. There's lots of old cameras that a lot of people were doing. What inspired me was I was at a museum in Washington, D.C., and there was this artist there that was in the National Museum painting. And I had my stereo camera with me and I took a picture of her. And this was back around 2018. I took a picture of her with paintings in the background. And she was replicating a painting. The National Museum invites artists to come in and just to paint. So I did that picture. I looked at it and I said, and a light bulb went off in my head, and I said, this is a project I want to do for St. Pete. I want to highlight the many talents and things like that and present the artists that work in 3D with a 3D portrait so that you could see them in dimension as opposed to traditional photography, which is flat. So that's
I can't think of any precedent for this. I mean, I remember Jim when you started talking about it, and I've never heard of anybody doing that before, and it's very, very cool.
I started doing some images for St. Pete Opera Company in stereo, and the last production I did during the show when I was downstairs in the dressing room, I set up my studio background down there, and I asked any of the cast members if they would participate in my project. And they were
Was
like,
that Rigoletto? Was that the show?
it was Rigoletto.
Yeah,
It
right.
was Rigoletto, and the costumes were awesome. And I got some really nice shots of a bunch of the opera performers in costume. And that's when I said, all right, now I got to work on the details a little bit. And I started doing some artists. And so that it all just kind of came from there. And I'm going to continue my opera series because I would like to do a show in stereo of my opera work too, eventually. Once things get over and the opera gets back into swing, I will continue to do my stereo project there as well.
I'd like to see that too. I have a few things I want to look at. This is essentially how it works, right?
Yes.
This is the way it will be down there at Softwater.
Well,
yes, like this.
Yes, I have displays. I've framed each of the 20 artists with their stereo views, and it's going to be next to their work. So each artist has 3 pieces in the show. There's 20 artists with 3 pieces plus my piece that shows them in 3D. I have all those stereo viewers mounted on the wall that people can pick up. Because of COVID-19, I've changed it a little bit, and I've invested in small stereo viewers that people will be able, that are clean and sterile. They'll be able to pick those up, carry those around with them to look at the images, and then give them back to me at the end.
I see.
And then I will clean them and have them for the next person.
So this photo's maybe from an earlier version or a
It
test
is
run
before,
or something?
This was done before COVID-19 was around.
Okay.
I will still have those viewers. They are still here on the wall. And if anybody wants to pick one up and use it and look at all 20 artists and then put it back on the wall, then I have cleaning cloths and things like that. Everybody will be wearing a mask. So we're going to keep safe for everybody. But with COVID-19, it kind of put a little damper in the works with what I was doing, because it's a touchy-feely art. So I've found these viewers. I found these viewers that everybody can take. They'll be clean. I've got a volunteer that's going to help me sterilize each one and put them back in the bag for the next person, so that everybody will stay safe.
Let me ask you this. Looking at what do you call this? Stereoscope or something?
Stereoscope, yes.
Okay. How is this different from like the red and blue plastic junk that you got out of cereal boxes?
Right. The red and blue plastic junk are red and cyan glasses, and that's called anaglyph. Those are anaglyph glasses, and you can view the images, but the color is muted. It's not the same. You use those for 3D movies and things like that. They work great for that, but they don't work as good for this project, because a lot of the colors, if there's red in the picture, you have eye strain, so it doesn't work. If you've got blue in the picture, you have eye strain because it's fighting with the red and blue glasses. So I opted for this view with the stereoscope because I like old school. I'm an old school photographer. I do old school techniques. This is a technique that's been around since the 1840s and made popular in 1851 at the World's Fair. So I bring it back.
That's pretty old school, man.
Yes, that's old school. I've been doing photography now for 48 years. I won my first photo contest 48 years ago. So I've been doing photography a long time.
You're old school too. Let's take a look at a couple of the images to sort of set this up for folks. And here is the absolutely wonderful Carrie Jadus.
Yes, and this
of
is our
Softwater
host.
Studios fame.
Yes, this is our host for the event. This is Carrie Jadus. This was done in her art space.
Yeah.
And one of a lot of the people in the project were all St. Pete Arts Alliance Muse recipients. Mm-hmm. So I went around and photographed all of the Muse recipients from past years to be included in the show. So we have quite a few of the artists in the show are all people that give back to the community. They are community oriented. They are very gifted and they're talented teachers.
Yeah.
So I started with the Muse, and I introduced this show at the Muse Awards this year back in January when it was at the Museum of Fine Arts. And that's when everybody was handling the stereoscopes. and
Yeah.
everybody loved it. So I've been working on this project actually for about 1.5 years now.
Kind of got in right under the wire there,
Yep,
genuine. Here's our old friend Charlie Parker.
yep.
I've actually shot video just of his hands working the clay, and amazing.
Oh,
Potters
he is
are
amazing.
amazing to watch, aren't they?
Yes, they are. And that he can take a 20-pound bag of clay, slap it on the wheel, shape it, and make that bowl that you see there in just a few minutes.
Yep.
It's like not easy to do. That is,
That
and a
setup
lot of
time involved
his
is
work is in the background, right about where
oh,
I'm pointing. That's where his
oh,
work is back there.
well, that's what you said, that each of the 20 artists has 3 pieces in this, and I hope
Yes.
we'll take a
Uh-huh.
look at that soon. I'm wondering, I've been around photographers a lot in my life, and how many is this, like you took 100 frames to get the one that was perfect, or how long
Some
did these take?
Well, each session, I didn't want to bother the artists for too much time.
Mm-hmm.
So really each session took maybe 15, 20 minutes. And that included me bringing lights. So I didn't want to overpose things.
Oh yeah.
I didn't want to overdo things. So I would just go in, set up, take a few pictures. I think I averaged about maybe 20 pictures at a time. Young photographers today and digital photographers today, they think that you should take 5,000 pictures and then edit it down.
That's what I'm used to. Yeah.
Right. Well, I don't do that. I'm old school, and I believe in pre-visualizing what I'm looking for, getting the composition the way I want it, and then waiting for the artist to do their thing. So these are very candid images. They're not, stationary images. It's just he was working on that bowl, so I went and did it. This is
Here's
my
Cheryl
wife,
Ann Day
Cheryl Ann.
Swallow, a fine jeweler. I'm very
Yep.
familiar with her work. She happens to be your lovely
Yes.
bride, but tell me about what the fineness of what she does. She's making jewelry
Well,
here, correct?
she is working with a torch, and she is working with enamel over copper. So these
Wow.
they start off as copper pieces, and she is adding layer upon layer of enamel over the copper. Her mentor was a gentleman named Joe Spencer, which pioneered the techniques of multi-torch fire enameling in Safety Harbor, and he was a good friend, and we're carrying on the torch for him. He passed away in 2016, so we are all about doing enamels. My wife and I are both artists, so our entire house is an art house.
I've been to your house, and yes, it is. And here's D.L. Kelly. Let me ask you this. This is almost exactly the same image taken simultaneously with twin cameras or twin lenses, or how does it work exactly?
This particular one was done early on when Yael is a friend, and I asked her if she would help me with the project to get it going. So she was one of my test people. And so this was done with the older camera before I invested in the new camera. And I really like Yael's work. Even though it's painting, it is dimensional. When you look at Yael's work, some of her paintings have 100 layers in them. And you can crawl right into the painting by seeing that. So even painters work in 3D, for me. So I included in my show painters, people that work with graphite pencil drawing work, wood, metal, glass. I covered all the mediums because, just because they work on a flat canvas doesn't mean their work isn't dimensional. So that's
you had mentioned that when we were talking earlier, and I'm thinking, well, how are paintings 3-dimensional? But I guess so. And you can see a lot. I expect, since I'm not looking at it in 3D here, but I expect you can look at this. Look at George Stovall's thing. I expect you can see a lot more detail when you look at the stereo image.
By bringing the stereoscope up to your eyes, you can actually, it has dimension to it. It's hard to show it on a flat screen, but when you look at this with a stereoscope, you see the shirts at different levels. You see him working forward on his stuff, and you see the skulls that are on this bookshelf in the background. So he's quite a character. He's a wonderful artist, and he's done a lot of different things in his life. And so I was lucky to have him part of my show.
Well, look, again, to ask you, these are not exactly the same images.
No, they are The lenses on the camera are the same distance apart as the human eye. So it's like 2.5 inches, 75 millimeters or so,
Okay.
a little bit. And so there is a slight difference in the view, just enough to give you the dimension.
So it's just, is it just like being there, or is it sort of enhanced?
It's just like being in the room. Nope, it's not. It is just like being in the room, as if you were there. So everything, you know, like that picture of Carrie with her painting and her palette that came forward, the palette actually moves forward in the frame. So when you're looking at it, you start at the palette, you follow the brush strokes, you follow her looking at the canvas, and it all flows into one. And then you see the things that inspire her in the background.
You're killing me here, because I can't, you know, I'm looking at flat images, but I can tell there's something going on here, but I think this may be one of those examples of you have to see it.
You have to see it to believe. You have to come to the show. You have to come and see it. It's going to be up all month, but you definitely have to come to the show to see it, because it's not, no one's ever done a show like this that it's included other artists. And I'm focusing more on all the other artists in the room and less on myself. My work is in the corner, but I'm trying to focus on everybody that's here more than myself. This is Q Yamamoto, one of the Muse recipients. And the piece that he is working on is actually in the show. The piece in this picture, when I went to him, this is actually included in the show, so it'll be here.
It looks three-dimensional. I mean, it's got a depth to it. Talk to me, you know, I think that's the last picture I have. Who else is there? You know, the fabulous Mark Ailing is there, because I saw him wandering around back there.
Mark Ailing is in the show. We have Brian Ransom, who is in the process of setting up in the background. I don't know if we can see, he's setting up his instruments in the background. We have Rachel Stewart, Teresa Sullivan. We have Rebecca.
You have Dee Perconti. Dee Perconti.
Yep.
I know Dee. That's great. Yeah.
Show. Because her work, she works in collage, so her work is multidimensional.
Oh,
Teresa Sullivan is a mosaic artist. So
so I know Teresa too. Sure.
Right. Teresa's in the show. Charlie's person that works with him, Kayla, is here too. Her work is on the wall. She is a fabulous clay artist. We have
why don't you, hey Jim.
Duncan McClellan is also in the show with some of Duncan's pieces.
That's right. I knew that Duncan was in there. Hey, why don't you take us around, show us some stuff?
Okay, I can take you around.
Can you do that?
Yep. Hopefully it won't be too rocky. We also have.
We're used to rocky here. We're used to it.
Well, I also have Demery Barth, who is a fiber artist, along with George Stovall. But that is a piece of we're still setting hers up, but that's some of her pieces there. That Demery Barth is working on her stuff. If I go around in a big circle, I can show you lots of everybody's.
Yeah.
We have Josh Pohl. His works are in process still. We're getting there. We're getting it, but that's one of his pieces.
Wow. That's glass, yeah.
They're all based on the evil eye. So you can hang.
See, I'm looking at a screen. He's a glass artist, yeah.
He's a glass artist.
Yeah.
We have two wood artists. This is David Bradford's pieces. He is a wood artist, a wood craftsman, and then so each of their stereo views are alongside their work, so you can see their stereo views. Rebecca Skelton's work. Rebecca has been a friend for a long time, and she's a fabulous artist, so I wanted to include her in the show. These are works by Rachel Stewart. She has a book that's down here that looks quite interesting, and her wall piece, and then she's got this nice tree going on here. Then next after her is Kayla. She's got some wonderful pieces in the show. And then this is Teresa Sullivan's work.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I actually recognize the bed of fish there. I've seen that before.
Yep. And that guy down there
Yep. The Luna Moth.
right? And then Mark
Right.
Allen has his pieces. Then Kevin Brady has a tribute to Jimi Hendrix. So you can
Oh
see
yeah, I saw
light
Kevin's
piece.
stuff was in here. I did. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, look at that. That's
So
cool.
you can see Kevin's pieces going on.
Yeah.
There's Brian working on his stuff right now, getting his musical instruments put up.
Hey, Brian. Okay.
And this guy here, when you rock it, it actually makes noise.
Oh yeah. That's very cool.
So we have musical instruments. Then I have we have Yael Kelly's work,
Yep.
and then Dee Perconti's work. Duncan McClellan has pieces in the show. These are a few pieces from George Stovall.
Man, there's a lot going on.
There's a lot. This is my wife's work.
Yeah.
Let's see if we get it that way. So you can see a little bit of her work. Hugh's work is here. That's that piece that you saw in the picture. So that is what he was working on.
That's Mr. Yamamoto. That's fabulous.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that is
look
the
at
finished
that.
piece, and he's got a wall piece. In the middle of the room, we have Brian Mallett here, and he has a place on First Avenue South and 21st, and he is going to be opening up a space for wood artists. So he's going to have a gallery space and be part of Art Walk in the future. And this was a way for him to, get the word out about his art space. And we have Charlie Parker's work is right here.
Wow. Charlie sold me a couple of bowls. I eat my cereal out of them. It's great.
Yeah.
I can't afford the really expensive stuff.
Yeah.
He's great.
So that's all. And then Carrie's.
Yeah, where's Carrie's stuff?
Carrie's stuff is we're still setting up her stuff, but her stuff is there.
There he is. Yeah.
And my stuff, I have a few other pieces that are not the artists, but I put a few of my fine art pieces in as well.
Oh yeah. Well, it's only Monday. Your opening is Saturday, so you're getting a head start on it.
Yes, we're getting a head start. We've got the whole show. It's turning into an awesome show.
Hey, there's a masked lady there. Can she
Yes,
come in and
there
talk
is.
too? Hey, masked lady. Hey, Carrie. She's going to talk through the mask, isn't she?
Yeah.
Is this the first live actual exhibit that's been in soft water for all these months?
Well, we did open up. We had a sort of soft opening last Art Walk, and we maybe had like 20 people show up. And it was really the show that we had up for about 8 months that no one had ever gotten to see. So when Jim approached me about doing this show, he had such a plan for 1010, Art Walk 1010, and all of his numerology stuff that he's worked out.
10/10, 2020. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And the show starts at 5:05. So
Well, I was going to ask you, what's up with that 50? What is it? Okay, it's 5:05 to 8:03. Okay.
8:08.
Oh, did I write that down? Okay. Well, anyway, numerology. What's that all about, man? What is
Well,
that?
it's just I just wanted to play with numbers, because 2020 vision is, if you have 2020 vision, you have perfect vision.
Yeah.
So, and in the year 2020, so I'm playing on the year. I'm playing on the fact that all of these artists have a perfect vision for what they want to create. So that's part of it, is that every one of these artists is talented, and I wanted to show them that they are focused. Every one of these artists is focused in their work, so it all plays together as just a bunch of.
And focus is also a photographic term, and very cool.
It's just been a combination of things, and I wanted it to be in October. I've been planning this since last July, and I wanted it to be in October of this year because of 1010 is half of 2020.
2020. I'm glad you guys told me about that, because that went over my head right away. you know.
So it really is a fantastic show. I mean, we've been setting it up all day, and the artwork is phenomenal. There's such a variety of artists, and I wouldn't have believed that we would be able to fit so much work in the show, but we got it all in here.
We got it all in.
So what happens that we have the Art Walk Saturday? Obviously, it's not sort of back to normal, but I mean, are you only letting certain amounts of people in at a time? What are the rules?
We have a little counter. We're only going to let so many people in at once. We require masks. We're putting the bar outside, so it's in the open, and basically opening the big doors. There's plenty of ventilation.
Oh yeah.
So we're taking some precautions.
How many of the artists are going to be there?
Most of them said they were coming.
Most of them said they were coming. A few of them are still are very cautious about things going on right now.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Brian's sneaking out the door right now.
Okay. Well, Tim, before we go, the folks who know you work at Davidson Fine Art.
Yes.
And I think that, if people don't know your photography from the opera and your art stuff, they probably have talked to you in there before.
Yeah.
And you probably
I work with a lot of artists because I do a lot of art reproductions, a lot of paintings. I do all of Yael's work.
Jim knows everyone.
I know.
I think so, yeah.
I know everybody in town. And I'm hoping that this is just the start of this project. This isn't the end of this project. This project is going to continue on, and I will have more artists I'm going to keep going and building on this body of work. It's not stopping at 20 artists.
Well, it's like I was saying before, I don't think there's any precedent for this, and I can't think of anyone who's ever done this. Or as you were going around, I was looking at like the modules or whatever you call it with your 3D stuff.
Yes, stereo views. Yeah, they're stereo views.
All right, so now I know this, but I was thinking this is I've never seen this before, and it's like a little look into the actual world of the studio, and I think that's kind of amazing. Oh, there goes Carrie. Bye, Carrie. Well, listen, buddy, let me wish you all the best. The opening is this Saturday during the second Saturday Art Walk, 10/10.
10/10/2020 at 5:05
until 8:08.
And of course, the door will be open before 5:05. But if I had to put a number on, if I had to put a time on the piece of paper,
that's just the way you are.
It just worked out that everything had to work with numbers.
And it's up through the end of October, I believe.
It's up through the end of October. Carrie asked if we could carry it over, but
there's a potential that we might go ahead and carry it over to the Art Walk. So we'll see.
Well, let me wish you guys all the best.
Thank you.
Break a leg or whatever the hell you say in the art world, and don't break anything else. It's all very fragile. And
time to be creative. That's what it is.
Sorry?
I said it's time to be creative.
It's always time to be creative. Yep. God bless you guys. Hey, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We'll see you on Saturday, and best of luck. Thanks. All right. Cheers.
Cheers. Have a